Hi, I'm Steve Stevens. I'm here in Studio 606 in Los Angeles. I'm here with Two Notes Audio, capturing my DynIR cabinet collection, the Steve Stevens cabinet collection. I've had a 40-year recording career, and I know what certain speakers should sound like, and I find with other IRs, very rarely can you go, yeah, I want a Vintage 30, a Marshall Vintage 30, and you go to use what they call a Vintage 30, and it doesn't really sound anything like that. So my reference, my ear reference of years of recording translates very well for the Two Note stuff. I've been actually on board with Two Notes for quite a while now. I'm starting to use the Captor X, and I'll be using that live as well. And for my home recording in my studio, I use the Wall of Sound. So one of my cabinets, we've called it the Stevens Brit 80, and I found by taking the grill cloth off, we could really get the microphones much closer to get more bass response. The speakers that are in there are Celestion Vintage 30s from about, I'd say 1985, 84, 85, somewhere around there. That cabinet has been used on Top Gun and the Rebel Yell album. I think that was the first time I used that cabinet, was the Rebel Yell album. Vince Neil record, Michael Jackson, let's see, Atomic Playboys, another one. That is the cabinet that's on those records. So our next speaker cabinet, called the Stevens Brit 71, actually it's the first Marshall cabinet that I ever owned, and we actually put Vintage 30 speakers in it, probably around mid-80s or so. I love to have one of my cabinets be different on one side as the other. The stereo spectrum, the guitars sound wider that way. I very rarely will double my guitars with exactly the same setup. So that cabinet is on the first Billy Idol record, so that would be White Wedding. One of the cool things is that it has Jim Marshall's signature on the inside. So next in my series is a speaker cabinet built by a company called Scumback. Don't blame me for that name, it's the company name. But they make incredible guitar speaker cabinets. The speakers in that are actually made by a guy named David Liboga. He's out of Poland. This will be in my collection my most modern, metal, heavy-duty, full-on, great for drop tuning. So it's a whole nother color to work with for all you guys that are doing drop tuning and baritone guitars and all that stuff. This will be the cabinet that you'll most gravitate towards. So next in my collection, we're going to take you way back, mid-60s, Sears Silvertone amplifier. This is the Stevens Silversonic 212. Has two Jensen 12-inch speakers in it, ceramics. Great for cleans, great for fuzzes and things like that. Very clean amplifier. Has a very distinct thing if you like things like the white stripes. This is going to be a cabinet that'll definitely hint on those kind of vintage tones. So the next speaker cabinet we have is a cabinet that's been with me, predates my Billy Idol days. I was in a band called the Fine Melodies, and that is the cabinet that I used in that band. It has a vintage Celestion blackback speaker in it. Johnny Thunders play through that cabinet. You had the guys in the Dead Boys play through that cabinet. It's a real New York fixture. We're talking like from 77 to 79, so it's got a lot of history in it. A lot of famous guitar players used that cabinet. That was the first cabinet I used for my first Billy Idol rehearsals when we first met. Another great vintage cabinet with a great vintage speakers in it. I'm a real product of the 70s, of those classic guitar sounds, and that's my reference point. Traditional classic rock guitar sounds. The speakers sound like what I expect them to sound like. And also there's a lot of flexibility with the software plug-in. You can add compression and EQ and all of these elements to replicate what a real-world cabinet should sound like. And they feel good under your fingers, most importantly. They just feel good.